Hey guys, just a quick update before we start this video. So we have got plenty of challenge videos and sketches and all that good stuff coming soon. We are sorting out the DVR. That has been a little bit of a setback for us, but to be honest, this has all just been something of a learning curve. So lots of good stuff coming the way soon, and you will see Michael. You will definitely see Michael soon. It's just he hasn't been around for some of the filming that we've done of recent, but we've got lots of plans of what we're going to do with Michael, and it's all going to be good and fun. With all that in mind, hope you enjoy the video. Hey guys, okay, so this is something a little different, and if it goes well I might do more, and if not then we'll just quietly forget about this video. So this is a series called Film Nerding because I am a film nerd and I have various opinions, as we all kind of do. In this episode I'm going to talk about Batman vs Superman, which, let's face it, at this point is generally agreed to be a disappointment. But what if it wasn't? What could you do to potentially make it a good film? So if Zack Snyder and David Goyer for some obscure reason spoke to me, a guy they've never met in a completely different country, and the film that we saw was a first draft, then this is what I feel should be changed, what should be kept, and what should be expanded upon. This is a film that's narrative was far too diffuse and just lacked focus. Its biggest problems were lack of central themes and a failure to understand basic aspects of the characters it was portraying. I believe that both these problems have a common solution. The major theme should have been the greater good versus personal morals. So in my mind, there are three main characters in this film: Batman, Superman, and Lex Luthor. In the hero sense, DC has always created larger-than-life characters to be aspired to, that are made to be better than we can be. Now, these are characters that have endured for over 70 years, so naturally you can adapt and alter aspects of them in creative and interesting ways to keep them fresh, but there are core traits that are fundamental that make them who they are, that shouldn't be changed. The most fundamental trait of Batman that makes him who he is that he doesn't kill. Batman has always been a character who creates his own villains and is just as brilliant and arguably as insane as them. His insistence to not kill is what makes him different from them, and it's why they will always come back. It's what makes him different from anyone Superman would face, and it's what makes him different from Lex Luthor. It should never have been a question of can Batman kill Superman, but rather should Batman kill Superman. Because if Batman starts killing, then what's stopping him from killing someone like the Joker? A person who continues to torture Batman and get away with all the horrendous things he does because Batman refuses to kill him. Superman, on the other hand, has already been established in a previous film and as such should have character growth from that point. Superman is a character who has no limitations, he's always capable of winning a fight. The reason people can get the better of him is not because he's not strong enough, it's because he holds back or shifts his attention to saving the lives around him. Now, Superman at the end of Man of Steel hasn't quite reached that point yet. He's too focused on what he feels is the greater good to be concerned about the casualties. He's also full of confidence and feels he can do pretty much anything. As for Lex, I'll talk about him a bit more over the course of this video. Now that the ideology is out of the way, let's get to the nitty-gritty. What do we change? What do we keep? So for starters, the opening needs to be tidied up, as it's a prime example of the film's unfocused narrative. We have young Bruce Wayne intercut with flashbacks to his parents' death, followed by a time jump to adult Bruce in Metropolis during Man of Steel, followed by another time jump to Lois and some terrorists culminating in her rescue by Superman. None of these scenes inform each other, and to a viewer are initially unrelated events or at unrelated points in time, which is jarring to watch and hard to get invested in. The film does this a lot. So let's take out the origin scene, as we've seen that a lot of times before. We all know it, and it does nothing to the rest of the film other than highlight Martha's name. The Metropolis scene, however, is a powerful scene that introduces Bruce fantastically and should absolutely be the way this movie should start. Slight tangent here, but there is a model for ideal viewer engagement, and Star Wars basically defined this. Essentially you want to start with something exciting that grabs the viewer's attention and then continue to calm down and then get more and more engaging. Star Wars, as our example, after the credit rolls, starts with a big space chase and a bunch of dudes getting shot. It's awesome. So, totally open exciting. Now, as great as this scene is, I feel it needs a slight tweak. We should have also been introduced to Lex Luthor in this scene. Something this film should have done was paralleled Lex and Bruce. They're both brilliant men with lots of resources who view Superman as a threat. As Bruce was rushing through the city heroically to rescue people, Lex should have been rushing through, but instead to get a better glimpse of this powerful being, this godlike creature. Now, as for the next scene, yes, it makes sense to introduce Superman as saving Lois while she's doing some dangerous reporting, and no, they shouldn't have killed Jimmy Olsen. The original plan was to cast Jesse Eisenberg as Jimmy and have it be a surprise twist that they kill him straight away, but this doesn't really work with a fairly unknown actor. Sorry, Michael Cassidy, but you're just not famous enough for this to work. A lot of people didn't even realise he was Jimmy. Also, this scene is a key part of Lex's plan, and to be honest, framing Superman by having people shot with LexCorp experimental bullets is obviously a bit stupid. Lex's whole plan is really all over the place. Batman and Superman already had good reasons for fighting each other, and Lex should have just used his knowledge and resources to further encourage them. Batman clearly and kind of justifiably sees Superman as a threat to humanity, and there are some great moments of dialogue between Bruce and Alfred that illustrate this well. However, as I said before, Batman should have been conflicted about this because he doesn't kill. Batman has such a strong ethos of not killing that a big aspect of this film should have been his confliction between his belief in stopping Superman for the greater good and his personal morals of never killing. This should have been further illustrated in Batman's dream sequences, which also need to be changed. Seriously, Batman has like 4 dream sequences in this film. It's one of the many reasons it's so unfocused. Batfleck spends far too much time daydreaming. Take out all these fantasy sequences and instead just have 1 or 2. The one you keep is of Batman seeing an apocalyptic future with Superman in charge, further illustrating his fears of not stopping him. Take out Batman holding a gun, obviously, and I would say take out the Darkseid and Parademon stuff, but Zack wants to be setting up his franchise, so fine, whatever, these aren't too bad, if a little out of place. But if he's got plans involving Batman having a vision, then, well, fine, I guess. Now, the other dream sequence, and if there can only be one, then this 100% should have been the one, is that he should have imagined the Joker taunting him. I can't stress how much they should have done this. We already knew Jared Leto was cast as Joker in this universe, and this cameo would have been so organic to the plot. The Joker could have taunted Batman for even considering killing Superman when he continues to allow him to live. How, rather than torturing and killing people, maybe mention Robin, to really get under Batman's skin, he should have just put on a cape and helped people. Batman's whole arc in this film should have been based around whether or not it was right for him to kill Superman. As for Superman, his motive would have clearly come from seeing Batman as an outlaw. It would have been really nice if we could have even had him witnessing elements of that as Clark Kent from a civilian perspective, in much the same way Bruce saw Superman fighting Zod. Not quite as big, mind you, but perhaps he had to walk the streets of Gotham and saw the fear and culture surrounding the Batman. He doesn't understand this man and sees it as no different from gang violence almost. As I mentioned before, Batman at the end of Man of Steel was full of confidence in himself. He was destroying Morrison stations and telling people he's going to save them on his own terms. He shouldn't have been moping around the whole film. Superman shouldn't have really cared about his public image that much. He should have just been confident that if he kept helping people and doing the right thing, that people would see. The one who would have cared would have been Lois. She should have been the one pushing him to explain himself to the public. This isn't like when he turned himself in Man of Steel. This is media relations. So this film takes a lot of cues from The Dark Knight Returns, which is very popular to do these days. Which makes sense because they fight in that, and it also takes cues from the death of Superman. Now, I think that was a misstep. It's too early on in this universe, or for us the viewers, to care about him dying. Especially when a Justice League film is just 2 years away, so we all know he's coming back. No, the far more sensible comic to take cues from would have been Red Son. Superman Red Son tells a story of an alternate universe where Superman lands in Soviet Russia instead as a baby. He then grows up with communist values and pretty much becomes a dictator of the whole world. We see elements of this already in Batman's apocalyptic future. Batman and Superman fight in this comic too, and it would have been perfect to draw upon because it focuses on the negative aspects of Superman imposing his will. Just like in the comics, Superman should have had this foolish notion that he somehow knows best because he has the power and he's using it for what he sees as good. Superman's whole plot arc in this film should have been his eventual realisation that doing things for what he sees as the greater good doesn't make them right. His confrontations with Batman and Lex could have helped this along the way. This film was always going to be they punch for a bit and then they're mates. And the villain that they come together for in the end has to be Lex. Now, just like my sporadic mentions of him over this video, Lex's plan was really all over the place in this film. He's pissing in jars, he's taking huge leaps of faith, and so many people have mentioned before his plans so easily fall apart. All he needs to do is mainly be promoting an anti-Superman stance and be gently fueling an obvious fight between Batman and Superman. He doesn't need experimental Lex bullets. In the comics he's framed Superman as being more brutal before, but he's done it by having people burnt or frozen or killed with an overpowered pneumatic fist in manners similar to powers we know Superman to have. Any of that would have been fine, he just has to be subtle about it. just making sure he's keeping a constant reminder to Batman of the devastation Superman can cause. Also, he needs to be constantly painting Batman as this out-of-control villain to Superman. The whole Batman Browning Falls, who then got killed in prison plot, was kind of crappy, to be honest. Lex just needs to make sure batarangs are found in a few violent crimes. So I think the court bomb scene is really crap, because Superman would have seen it, and I don't buy this attack on Superman would have in any way fueled Batman's rage for him. But if you have to have a scene like that, if you have to, then at least make sure the bomb has some kind of bat branding on it or something. Batman is easy to frame, he puts such strong branding on everything he does. If someone dresses in black, kills people in Metropolis in the shadows, and leaves some kind of bat insignia to be found, then people will suspect Batman. Easy. Have him frame him for killing a few outspoken pro-Superman supporters, better. You don't need such flimsy reasons for the two to fight when they already have conflicting ideologies to work with. Okay, so now just a few quick things. It should have been emphasised more that Batman and Superman figured out who each other were, because that's just too brilliant. Just like in the animated series, where we see Superman is capable of seeing through Batman's mask and Batman is capable of figuring out who Superman is because he's the freaking world's greatest detective. Have Superman be surprised by this? It would be awesome. The Justice League cameos should have either been non-existent or done completely different. So rather than have Wonder Woman open a few files of teaser vines, we could have had a super fast civilian saving someone from debris in the final fight, for instance. Maybe Wonder Woman could have briefly clocked it. Wonder Woman herself isn't too bad, but you need to make a little more sense of what she's doing there. Lex having a photo of her during the war is not something she should have come off Themyscira for, because it doesn't mean anything without the footage of her at the bank for some reason, which only exists because she came off the island in the first place. No. Have it that Lex has footage of Themyscira, for instance. Fine. Then, rather than have her find the Justice League files, she can perhaps find the stuff on Superman that gives her an incline to Lex's plan. That way she can have a reason to join the final fight rather than catching it on the in-flight video that she is somehow taking a plane back to Themyscira for. Do Turkish Airlines fly to Themyscira? It's not much of a secret if they do. Keep the Steppenwolf deleted scene because it's the best one for setting up a sequel, and whatever happens, Lex shouldn't go to prison. Lex should ideally be seen as a public figure after all is said and done, because otherwise there is so much you know you can't do with the character. Unless you reveal his father is going to be the true Lex Luthor, just have him cleverly get out of it all through a legal loophole. He's Lex Luthor for crying out loud. Right, so moving on to the ending. The Batman Superboy fight itself is great, as is their earlier confrontation at the dock, minus Batman killing people of course, because Batman doesn't kill. Let's change the end though. Don't have the Martha bit that the internet loves to mock. Instead, in that final moment, as Batman is looking down at Superman, have him see that he is just a man. Maybe even have him catch his own reflection and realise that he's becoming everything he fights against, and that he can't do it. He's not Lex, and compromising himself isn't worth the greater good. And Superman can see this and realise that Batman has a sense of honour, that he isn't a killer, and that perhaps he was wrong to kill Zod, wrong to allow people to die in collateral because life is sacred. And all this can come home to them when they realise what Lex has done. Lex, who has been fooling himself into thinking that everything he is doing is for the greater good, who has created a monster that will wreak chaos just to destroy Superman. And yes, I don't think they should take out Doomsday showing up at the end. If it hadn't been spoiled and he looked more comic book accurate, I don't think people would have minded. Either that or Lex dons the power armour that we've never seen in the films. That would have been a nice parallel to Batman, but I think Jesse Eisenberg would have looked a little silly, and the whole obtaining Zod's body, messing with Kryptonian tech and unleashing a monster kind of just flows better both from Batman of Steel and with the themes of this movie. Have them work together to fight Doomsday, but make more of a noted emphasis on Superman's realisation that protecting people comes before destroying the monster. Have a scene where he leaves Batman and Wonder Woman to handle it for a moment while he rescues people from the chaos Doomsday has created. And get Batman more involved in the fight. He's kitted out to fight a Kryptonian, have him fight one. You don't need to kill Superman, just make it clear that they're both willing to commit this kind of self-sacrifice and that they can see each other's commitment. Then you can end on them building a tolerance for each other and the beginning of an uneasy friendship, and Batman can say his foreboding line. Done. So there you go guys, that's what I think should have been done to fix this film. If you don't agree with me at all, then that's completely cool. To be honest, there was a lot wrong with this movie, and everyone has different ideas of what it should have been. How can you not? When has there ever been so much expectation put on one film? I might do more of these film nerding videos, we'll see how it goes. So, see you guys later, and one more thing now that I think about it. As cool as that fight was, I would have loved to have seen the moment from Dark Knight Returns where Batman plugs himself in the city mains to shock Superman. But yeah, see you guys later. Bye guys.
Mark, that was really nerdy.
Yeah, it was. For more things that are nerdy, why not subscribe?
And for things that aren't nerdy, oh, who am I kidding? You must clearly love it.